Good morning, good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Helen Morton, and it's my pleasure to coordinate this session today, where we'll be taking a practical run through the pledge progress session. My colleagues are with me from the WHO, so Sabine and Cassia, and we're delighted to have our colleague Stephen from UNICEF also with us on the call today. We will be recording this session, so hopefully it's useful and accessible for colleagues who are not able to join us today. And to give you a sense of what we'll be discussing, in the course of the next 20 or so minutes, we'll give you a bit of a practical walkthrough, a kind of how-to guide for updating your pledge progress in terms of your government's pledge that was made in Bogota at the first ever Global Ministerial Conference on Ending Violence Against Children. So my colleague Sabine will give you a walkthrough of how to undertake that process. Cassia has a number of questions at the ready, which will hopefully contribute to the questions you might have in terms of how you update and kind of report back on the progress of your pledge. And then our colleague Stephen from UNICEF will round off the session and provide a bit of an update before we close. So there will be plenty of opportunity for you to ask questions and offer comments. Please do use the chat facility. And you can ask your questions in English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese, and we will stand ready to respond to those. And hopefully this will be an interactive session for you. Before we make a start in terms of looking practically at how to update your pledge progress, perhaps useful to give you a little bit of a snapshot of where we are currently in the process since Bogota. We're delighted that so many member states, UN agencies, children, young people, academics, practitioners, survivors, and civil society were able to come together almost a year ago in Bogota for the first ever Global Ministerial Conference on Ending Violence Against Children. And even more delighted that they were joined by over 80 ministers, which far exceeded our hopes and expectations in terms of high political commitment to this issue. That resulted in a quite historic number of pledges being made, and many of you were instrumental to the making of those pledges. So we thank you for your continued partnership and leadership. As we approach the first year anniversary of that ministerial conference in November, we see that there's a real opportunity to reflect on the progress that's being made at country level and to celebrate that progress. And it's in that spirit that we're inviting you and here to support you in updating the progress that has been made on your pledge. All member states who made pledges should have received official documentation signed by WHO and UNICEF offering guidance on how your member state can update and report back on the progress that's being made against your pledge. And this session today is really here to give you some practical guidance and support in undertaking that reporting process. Our hope is that we can use the information that you submit to really showcase the work that your governments are doing, and most importantly, to start to give some sense of the difference that these pledges are making in terms of child protection and ending violence against children. After all, that's why we're all together, and that's really our shared vision and cause. So one thing to let you know, and perhaps this has already been communicated to you, but we do have ambitious plans for the anniversary moment. So on the 10th of November, we will have a big global event which will bring together all of the core stakeholders and key partners that were present in Bogota, and also all of those allies that have been so central to this journey over the past year. But it also gives us an opportunity to think to the year ahead. And we're very much conscious that this is part of a continuum. For many of us, this is a lifelong work to ensure that children are protected and that violence is reduced. And so we see this moment, this anniversary moment, as a very special moment to reflect on the progress made and really think about those next steps through to what we hope will be a second ministerial conference in November 2026. With that, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Sabine, who's going to bring up on screen the form that all member states who made pledges have been invited to complete. And she'll give you a practical walkthrough in terms of the steps for completion. Over to you, Sabine.
Thank you, Helen. Aussi, je vois qu'il y a des collègues francophones. Si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas en français. On est bilingue. Tenemos también español y portugués. Entonces, si tienen preguntas en español o portugués, se pueden pedirlos dentro del sistema. As Helen mentioned, and thank you, Helen, for the great introduction, I'm going to walk you through what the pledge process, the pledge reporting process looks like. It will just take you 5 minutes, but it's important just to understand the details. So as you might have seen, we have a new website, and much of what was on the previous website is at the top right here on the 2024 Ministerial Conference of Bogota. And now the core of this website is around the pledges and the call to action and resources. And of course, in 2025, we'll have another component, 2026, for the next ministerial conference. But focusing on the pledges, so the first thing that you'll want to do is go into the ministerial conference website. The link is in the chat. And then you can go into the pledge page, which is the second tab. And here you'll see an overview of the different pledges and by geographical distribution and topic. And then importantly, all the country pledges. So let's say I'm Kenya and I want to find my pledge. I can either filter through the list or go down the list alphabetically, or I can put the search function. So here I've put the search function and I see that Kenya has made 5 pledges. The pledges are on different topics. So you see the topics here on the third column, a very brief description and the timeline of their pledge. And now I want to update on the progress of my pledge. So the first thing I'm going to do, one step back. If I want to see the pledge, a lot of the information is on the country pages. So you'll see these here, these country pages that have most of the information and other useful links. But what I want to do now is shut this and go into the pledge progress report. And so I click the link on the right, and you'll see there's 3 sections. The first one is about the existing information on the pledge. The second one is about if I want to enhance my pledge. And the third section is reporting on the pledge. So you'll see in section A, this is information that comes directly from the existing pledge. So the name of the country, the pledge topic, and the description. You need to remember that Kenya has 5 pledges, so they're going to have to complete this form 5 times. So every country will have to complete it per pledge. So this is on for Kenya, the parent and caregiver support pledge, and then a brief description. This part you can't change yet. Then it's about looking into my pledge. Is it SMART? That means, is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it achievable? Is it relevant? And is it time bound? If it's not, then maybe I want to change it, in which case I can include that information in this text. And this is people checked. So the UNICEF and WHO team will review these and say within 48 hours, yes, this is great, please update your pledge. We just had the example from Canada, for example. They wanted to update their pledge. They went through it, they made the suggestion, and the pledge was updated in the system. Now, let's say Kenya is happy with their pledge, which they should be because it's a wonderful pledge. And so we look into the pledge progress implementation. So the first question here is, have we started? No, we have not started. We've just started implementation. It's on track or it's fully completed. We will have a color coding. So in the screen we had before, you'll see the different colors saying that green is fully completed and light blue means that it's just started. So over time, we will be able to start seeing which countries and which pledges are being completed so that we can get a quick overview as well as yourselves. So this is the first button. Is it not started, just started, on track, or completed? And here we'll ask you to write a very short update on the progress of the pledge. Really maximum 200 words. It can even be 50 words if that's useful, but just so that we can understand how the Kenyan pledge on parent and caregiver support, which was mentioned here, is actually being implemented. And then we continue to look at beneficiaries. This one is optional. If you have the information, it's great, really great. If you don't, we also fully understand. But we really want, this is a numerical value. How many children are you reaching with this parent and caregiver support program? And how many are you planning to reach? So what's the target? And what is the total reach to date? These are 2 numerical values. Then the costs. What is the estimated cost of the pledge? And what are the funds allocated to the pledge? And last, but certainly not least, is the contact information. We know that there's a lot of turnover in governments, and so we ask you to please update the contact information. If it's changed, if it hasn't changed, we'll continue emailing the people that we're emailing. But if it has changed, please give us the new name and email. And if there's any other information you want to submit, then you can put it here, and then you press submit. So just to be clear, as Helen has said, the process, of course, for implementing pledges is a lot of work. The process of bringing together partners, children, young people, survivors, CSOs, UN agencies, to understand where the progress is at, all that takes a long time. Actually, filling the form shouldn't take you too much time. And again, I think Helen said it loud and clear. Why are we doing this is because we want to work with you to understand your progress so that we can really showcase your progress, so that we can celebrate your progress. And with that, I'm going to open to questions.
Hi, Sabine. Thank you so much for walking us through the form. I will inaugurate the Q&A session, although it's open to anyone to just open their mic and make their questions. I have a few of them. I just wanted to know why we're doing this when you just started to respond. I think it's a great effort, but if you could maybe expand a little bit on what does this progress mean once we report the country's report, how will it be shown on the web page, and how we're going to work with this information?
It's important to remember that the Committee on the Rights of the Child is the real coordinating body, right, for progress, and that's the member state led. And the Committee on the Rights of the Child happens most countries are reviewed every 4, 5, 6 years. And so that's a very essential body that we work with very closely. However, for the Bogota pledges that are very linked to the CRC, hopefully to the CRC recommendations, we really want to walk the journey with you to implement your pledges. So if we can link you up with existing programs, if we can school-based programs, parenting programs, digital safety programs, legislation, advice on legislation. So the idea is not only to as an accountability measure, but really to accompany you through the UNICEF offices, through WHO offices, through our civil society groups, so that we help you implement the pledge, but then that we can show off what you've achieved at this anniversary on the 10th of November, and then at the next ministerial conference in November 26.
Thank you very much. And Sabine, who should report on pledge progress?
That's a great question. Ideally, it's the person that submitted the pledge or the lead agency of the government that submitted the pledge. Often this is done hand in hand with the UNICEF country offices. But ideally, the submit button is pressed by the person of the government that's in charge. Again, always ideally with consultation from the UN agencies, the civil society groups, and children, young people, survivors, and so on.
And how long does it take? Sorry, does anyone want to come in?
Okay, please complete your sentence.
I was going to ask, how long does it take for the update to be shown on the website?
48 hours. So if you either update your pledge or provide a pledge progress update, it will be reviewed by humans within 48 hours so that you can see it immediately on the website so that it's transparent, available for everyone to see.
Mr. Mohammed, would you like to come?
Yeah, Van, thank you. I have just two small questions. One is related to, you mentioned that there is a tab for beneficiaries. So my question is that when we plan any interventions, we have estimated beneficiaries. Like if I give example, we have vulnerable population of children, suppose 50 million. So we target all those vulnerable children, including street children, out of school children, and etc. So can we mention that estimated figure?
Absolutely, Mohammed. I think that's a great question. Yes, please mention the figure, the target figure, and then the actually reached figure. I think that's what we want to do. Even if it's a little bit of a guesstimate, please do include it. And I also want to say that leads me to another question, Mr. Mohammed, is that if, for example, you're running a project with social workers or healthcare workers or teachers, that's great, but try to estimate the number of children reached through that program.
Okay, thank you. And the second question is related to finance. You see, if I give example of Pakistan, we normally allocate the budget for child protection institutes, right? So this allocation is not specific for these pledges. So all the institutions, all the provincial governments have to meet the implementation cost of these pledges through their overall allocated budget. So in this case, we have to mention the overall allocated budget to the provinces and implementing units.
Thank you again, Dr. Mohammed. It's such a good question. I just want everyone to remember there are people behind the system. It's not a chat bot or a black system. So you can put the figure and then put an explanation note, and we can try to make sense of it. So rather than putting nothing, put what you have, and we will try to make sense of it. On your country pages, we can then explain what the situation is and how in Pakistan this is done at a decentralized level, and that this sum total covers the different decentralized districts that we're referring to. So put the information that you have as much as possible, and we can go through it to make sense of it on the website and in the pledging progress.
Okay, and third question clarity I would need. That is related to our second pledge, that was promoting positive parenting, right? And for that purpose, in beneficiary category, we assume that the parents we trained, we give them the training, those are also included in the beneficiary category. Can we add that figure? Suppose we have up to now we have conducted trainings of around 1,000 parents.
So what I would do if I was you,
Can I jump in on this
yeah.
one, Sabine?
Yeah.
So, Mr. Mohammed, one way of reporting the amount of parents and caregivers that were reached is on the pledge note. So whenever you're reporting on the pledge, you can add this information. And then on the beneficiaries, really try to estimate how many children are reached through this work with the parents and caregiver support.
Okay, thank you.
I would just answer one question in the chat in French. Je vais répondre à la question en français de RDC. Est-ce qu'on peut seulement mettre à jour sur les engagements pris à Bogota? En principe, c'est ceux-là qui sont sur le site web. Donc, vous pouvez mettre des nouvelles promesses dans le site web. Il y a un bouton où on peut mettre RDC nouvelles promesses. Et là-dedans, vous pouvez rajouter une promesse et après rapporter dessus. Sinon, le système ne fonctionnera pas. Si vous avez d'autres choses qui ont été faites qui ne sont pas dans les promesses, vous pouvez toujours les mettre dans la section des notes. So that was a question about whether you can make a progress update on pledges that weren't made at Bogota. And my suggestion is put it into the pledge system as a new pledge and then report on it. Or alternatively, if it's done in a completely other sphere, put it in the notes section, as Cassia said. Then there's another question about the 30th of September deadline. We realized that we sent out the letters end of August. It took a while because we needed to get all the right contact details. So in principle, you will have had a month to do this. We realize it's a short deadline, the 30th of September, and we might extend a bit into like mid-October at the latest, but we need the data to be ready and the videos for the 1-year anniversary, which is on the 10th of November. So I would say we might extend until the 10th of October, but the quicker you can get the information to us, the better. But we fully acknowledge that this information came out a little bit late. Are there any more questions from Cassia or from others?
If no one else wants to come in, I have another question, Sabine. It's regarding whether I can change my pledge.
So yes, in the second section, the B section, there is a text where you can say, I would like to change my text to this. So the initial text is there, and then you can put the new text that you would like to see, and then you submit. And again, it's the humans behind that will review within 48 hours, so the UNICEF and WHO offices, and then we will, in principle, agree to change your pledge. And ideally, improve it so that it's more smart, specific, measurable, time-bound, and so on.
So I can enhance my pledge, but I cannot change what the commitment that was made in Bogota. So the commitment remains, but I can enhance the pledge.
Exactly. You can't move it downwards. You can't make it less ambitious. You can only improve it and make it more ambitious. That's the point of this exercise. Thank you, Cassia.
And can I still submit a new pledge?
You can still submit a new pledge. Ideally, you would also report on it so that we have high levels of reporting on the pledges. But at any time, countries can submit new pledges and new countries can join. So if you know of people or neighboring countries that say we weren't aware or we weren't involved or we didn't have the political will behind it, these other countries can still submit new pledges. Any other questions? Just please turn on your mic, and otherwise we will hand over to Stephen from UNICEF. I don't see any other questions. No? Over to you, Stephen.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks to all of you for joining this session. And thanks to Sabine, Cassie, and Helen for animating this, for responding to your questions, for doing the presentations. And really would like to recognize, acknowledge, all of the governments that made those pledges around Bogota. These pledges represent global commitments towards ending violence against children, and we see the reporting process not just as a requirement, but as an opportunity to measure progress, to celebrate success, and to identify what still needs to be done. So in terms of key takeaways from this session, we'd just like to emphasize that September 30th is the reporting deadline, and we encourage all pledge makers to update their pledges on the dashboard using the SMART criteria: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. We also encourage countries to organize national progress sessions, inclusive multi-sectoral events, to generate momentum and visibility for pledges in countries. The November 2025 anniversary events will serve as a key milestone to showcase these results globally. And this is a step towards a second ministerial conference, provisionally in 2026, where we'll aim to deepen commitments and scale what works. So the pledges that are made represent real promises we make to children. And let's make sure that when we report, we're able to reflect real changes in the lives of children. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you all. And we'll be sharing this recording with you all shortly. Wishing you a good continuation of your day.
Bye.
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 Thank you.